Division II football, there's one dark horse team that has stood above the rest throughout the course of this playoff scene. That has been Newberry, fellas. No lead is safe against the Wolves. Can their dark horse run continue? Newberry, they knocked off number one in region, Albany State, 31-24 to advance to the national semifinals. This is a team out of the SAC that I know people were not talking about this team to be a semifinal team, and that makes it all the more impressive for this team to go and do what they've been able to do in 2025. And one play that I think sums up the performance against Albany State, the Rams, comes right before second half. They're kind of getting out there to try and attempt a field goal. Shout out to our good friend from D2Football.com, K-Ferg, for the video. Albany State getting out there ready to set up for the field goal, fellas, trying to get something going, get back on the scoreboard. Tough day for kicking across the entirety of small school football. This game, no exception. The kick up, blocked, scooped up by the Wolves, taken back the other way by, I think, almost 70 yards for a touchdown directly before halftime, and what was one of the biggest momentum shifts of the entire day and the entire game. That made the score a 21-17. Albany State still up, even though they were up 21-3 at the end of the first quarter, boys. Big two-touchdown swing in that second quarter for this Newberry team, and here we go. Sorry, 21-10 it made it. It was 21-24. I apologize. Newberry took the lead on that. DeVron Williams. My bad. Got my box score flipped up there. But 24-21, Newberry takes the lead on that block kick touchdown. Ridiculous game back and forth.
Yeah, man. And, when you have momentum like Newberry has in this playoffs, it could be really dangerous. They're a dangerous team to play right now. And, some things like that always go right when you're playing like that. When you got the mojo, you got the momentum. And, Reed Charpia is one of the best players in the country, and he's showing it in this playoff run. He's a Harlan Hill finalist, and this guy can just make plays happen outside of the pocket, and he just keeps plays alive and it just changes the momentum of a game. And this Newberry team kind of has a tough draw next week, but beating this Albany State team, being this dark horse, anything can happen with them, it seems like right now.
And one of his running mates in this offense, man, Quez Spells, 159 all-purpose yards, 2 touchdowns for him. Charpia we'll talk about a little bit more in depth here in a minute, but that tandem has been fun to watch. They do it in a variety of ways, too. I think there's no monotony. They're not going to bore you to death in the backfield. They give a lot of eye candy to defensive secondaries. A lot of ways to get caught up. If you're a DB or otherwise looking into that offensive backfield, you can get caught up in a lot of different ways. And again, Albany State, a team that has proven themselves, some big-time wins so far into the playoffs. You're up 21-3. You can't put your foot down and close out a Wolf team like this in the playoffs.
No, we had talked about Newberry and how, they were not necessarily saying they're on a magical run to any sense, but like we talked about, Kobe, if you would have said fill your brackets out at the beginning of the year, I think a lot of people, outside of the people in the team and the organization and the friends and family wouldn't have had them in the Final Four. But once you get that belief, it's almost like a Cinderella run in March Madness. Not saying they are a Cinderella, but it's the belief that, hey, we can beat anybody in any given Saturday. And I think they're playing with that right now. It didn't matter if they were going up against the 1 seed on the road at Albany State or who they beat before. It was
West Florida, man.
West Florida. Yeah, West Florida.
Knocked
exactly.
off 1 and 2 in the region. Impressive.
Exactly. So they don't necessarily care what your pre-rank is, who's on your team, whether you're a Harlan Hill winner or not winner, but in that conversation, they don't really care because at the end of the day, they're a team and all they care about is that at the end of the game, Newberry's got more points than the other team.
Correct. That was the case here. Albany State had a chance. They're down 31-24. A touchdown could tie it up or even go for the win. Shout out Sly, our good friend, Sly the sports guy, for the video. The drop back here, they have one opportunity to make this thing continue, bat it up, bat it out the back of the end zone, and the Wolves will advance to the national semifinal, fellas. Again, one more look at the final play of the game. 21-3, they rally back and win 31-24. They're going to the semifinals for the first time in program history, guys. And the man at the front of that for this offense, Reed Charpia. He has been phenomenal to watch in 2025. The SAC Player of the Year, and a guy like you said who is in very good consideration for the Harlan Hill Trophy. To me, one thing that stands out about him, and we'll talk about some of the other, maybe his attributes, but I kind of mentioned it earlier. The variety of things they do in the backfield, he makes it all look the same. He's very good at tricking the eyes of defenders, whether it's a drop back. They love kind of that cross zone, cross body, across the formation type action with the backs, bringing them in front of him, little play action deal where he might drop back. He's very good about getting the ball out into the flat or on the short dink and dunk, but he's also, a lot of talented in that drop back deal. We've seen them get out in the option as well, and that speed option with Spell, and what that tandem has been able to do on the outside has been impressive. So to me, it's the variety of things that he's good at. Feels like a jack of all trades under center for the Wolves.
Yeah, and when you look at the stat sheet, right, he doesn't have the rush yards, just how college stats are, minus 30 yards rushing last game. But when he gets out of the pocket, he is a dual threat quarterback. And like I said before, he's an improviser. And when you have weapons on the outside and weapons on this offense, if you get out of the pocket, lose contain, it's hard to keep guarding those guys downfield. And he's one of those guys that can improvise and make things happen. This team, it's funny that you just played that, and there was a defensive stand that won the game for him last game, and they kind of did it on all three fronts: offensive, special teams, and defense. So that they're just kind of playing some cohesive football right now, and he's at the top of it, and he just has to stay consistent. He did have 2 turnovers this last game. Can't have that happen against a team like Ferris State next week.
Yeah, that's a big one. And that second quarter, talk about how big of a momentum shift that was for this team, down 3 scores, really, to Albany State. That second quarter started with a Charpia pick and an interception. That was not the way that quarter was supposed to start. They rebound the offense, gets things going in the second part of that quarter going into halftime. But his ability to bounce back from that is huge, Drew.
Yeah, I think you kind of hit it on the head as far as like being a quarterback. I remember even in high school, we didn't run a complex scheme, but it was always make everything look the same, because when it's not, the defenses are gonna react like it is the same. So any type of play action, any type of zone read, like you'll see a lot of coaches be like, "Oh my gosh, carry out your fake." And as a quarterback, sometimes you get a little lazy. You can start to look back. But when you got Charpia, right? I'm saying that correct?
Charpia, yep.
Charpia. Yeah. Okay. Yeah. When you got him doing all the little things that are going to lead to the big things that create explosive plays, it's exactly the type of leader that you want. I am with Tim though, right? Like, not saying that Albany State was a slouch or anything like that, but we know what the type of team they're about to play. And the margin of error against a team like the Bulldogs is going to be so slim. So keeping that completion percentage up and the interceptions and turnovers down, moving the chains, not necessarily taking big plays, is going to be huge for them, and building stuff off that. We've seen a couple of teams, right? Like Minnesota State, they had the one drive to start the game, 12 plays. So, like, we're seeing teams be able to go down. They're not necessarily scoring in a hurry against Ferris, but they're taking their time. They're running, they're being on script. Everything that it takes for a good offense to do very well in the first quarter is going to be great. But another thing I will say, making sure that they're then to be able to get off script is going to be equally as important as being on script for that first drive.
Yeah, and Charpia, too, watching part of this game, fellas, he does a pretty good job, and I think his arm talent is an underappreciated part of his game. His ability to make some off-platform throws, as you might call them, right, where you may not have the shoulders square or going in the right direction, has been impressive. He also has just the straight arm strength to throw the ball, we're talking 30, 40-plus yards downfield and hit a guy when he's open, because we saw that at the beginning of the West Florida game. They strike first and draw blood first in that game and kind of had some things rolling against the Argos. Defense, of course, steps up as well and does their part against Stokes and company, but we have seen that from him. There are some off-platform throws, a tendency to throw it across the formation at certain times. To me, a little scary. I'm personally, I'm going to say stay the hell away from that against Ferris State. These are probably going to be the best athletes that you've seen all season. I know the SAC has got some great ball clubs down there. You're talking about a team that just played West Florida, who, again, we talk about Florida football, some of the best athletes in the country. Albany State, no slouches. All that being said, this Ferris State defensive backfield with guys like Payout and guys in that defensive backfield. We'll talk previews in a little bit, but to me, that's the best athletes are going to play all year. The off-platform throws could get you in trouble. You see what Ferris does in that defensive backfield, how they're able to hawk to the ball. So Charpia, that to me is the biggest emphasis. Be very, very intentional with those throws and try to keep that slate clean going into the matchup versus the Bulldogs.
100%.
Let's talk about those those Bulldogs a little bit. Sorry, I cut you off, Drew.
No, it wasn't. We're good.
I just wanted.
I got you. Let's talk about those Bulldogs, man. Back in the semifinals. This is the 7th Super Region 3 championship in the past 9 seasons for Ferris State out of Big Rapids, man. They put an end to the Mavericks' dark horse run of their own right. They beat Mankato 52-21 in a game where the rushing defense from Ferris stands up, and they lock down this Minnesota State rushing attack with Backer and Thompson and company in that offensive backfield. Some really good athletes. That's kind of what they've been known for over there at Mankato for the longest time. But this is a Ferris team that, again, continues to find a will and a way in any kind of given scenario. We saw Carter, Bauer, Gulker all at quarterback over the course of this game. Carter kind of being the true signal caller for this offense, it seems like, moving forward. But another statement win for this Ferris team to get out of SR3.
Yeah, and it's scary, right? Because they did it on the ground. Over 300 yards rushing this game, 175 yards through the air. This team wanted to prove that their defense is up to snuff, up to the challenge, and they proved it. They said that after the game. They wanted to prove that our run defense is one of the best in the country, and they're just looking scarier and scarier every week. This is going to be a tall task for Newberry next week, but right now they're hitting all cylinders. They're averaging 500 yards of total offense per game, averaging 53 points per game. I mean, this is a juggernaut offense. So we'll see how they respond next week to Newberry and try and get a spot in that national championship.
End of the third quarter, this was a 31-21 game. Like, this was a very competitive ball game for, I think, a majority of it. Now, 2 interceptions from Payout and this Ferris State defensive backfield, that really is a difference maker. That's a 14-point swing. Ferris able to capitalize off both of those fields that the defense gives them. To me, that's the difference in the game. But Brady Rose, he started it off in the fourth quarter, 41-yard touchdown catch at the kind of the first part of that fourth quarter. And then you had Gulker come in, extends that lead from the Wildcat spot and takes the ball, and he is tough to stop when his shoulders get going north and south. That's a big body doing that. They end that with a 52-29 win. They outscore that Mankato team 22-7 in the fourth quarter. So that's a big deal, man. Big deal.
Yeah, you kind of talked about Brady Rose. He's almost like their version of Darren Sproles in the sense of like he can beat you in any aspect of the game. He's been throwing the ball. I think he's got like a 70% completion percentage on the year because they do that jet read, and all of a sudden you see a guy going deep and he just launches it. This team can beat you in any facet. If they need to throw it, they got the guys to, Tariq Brett. They got Brady Rose that can go catch it. Gulker's been effective for them too in the passing game, so they can beat you there. They need to run for 300 yards. They can beat you there too. This whole offense is almost like a Swiss Army knife in the sense that, hey, what tool do we need for this exact play? What do we need for this exact drive? We got it. So we talked about Newberry, how for them it's like, let's make sure that they don't necessarily, try to do too much to hang with the Bulldogs, right? Like, just stay to your game. Ferris, figure out what you're going to do and just do what you do. You know what I mean? Like, there's nothing else. Like, they should not have to change their approach for anybody because they're that good when it comes to, being able to run offensively with the run and offensively with the pass, and then just let the defense, get a lead and let those big boys rush and the DBs just hunting for the ball.
Here's a number for you guys. Ferris State, they extend their record this year to 14-0. They've won 28 consecutive games. They've also won 28 consecutive home games going all the way back to 2002.
Oof.
What?
No, there's no way.
Straight from the recap.
That's got to be 2022.
It's got to be because I was doing the math and I'm
Didn't
like,
they
28
lose?
games. They've played more than 28 at home. I'm going to go ahead and assume with you that that's 2022.
Didn't they lose at home in the playoffs that one year? It was like shocker.
Good question. I don't know. Not since 2022 they haven't.
I'm looking it up now.
Little typo there regardless, because, yeah, I was doing the math, too. Like, 28 games since 2002. That does not make any sense, a lick of sense. But there you go. And they get to host the semifinal. We'll talk more about the hosting drama a little bit. But, fellas, what are the keys to the game for the Bulldogs? They host Newberry Saturday in Big Rapids, 12 o'clock kickoff. For me, we talked about Charpia and his maybe tendency to have some of those flippant throws. I think if you're Ferris State, and Easton Company has done a very good job of dialing up some very unique pressures, let's throw the kitchen sink at this guy. Let's see how many different pressures we can dial up and get at it. And there's another school of thought that says, to your point, Drew, if something's working, why change it up? If you've got a pressure and you've got a front seven, if you will, that you feel really confident about, just let them go. And honestly, that's probably what they'll end up doing on Saturday. But to me, let's put an extra wrinkle in there. Let's try and manufacture a turnover early on in that game to get him feeling a little bit shaky mentally. Can we do a little bit of a stunt with the interior guys? They've got guys on that front four or front five, whatever kind of front they choose to go with for Ferris, that are athletic enough to do some stunting late to maybe get around and get to the quarterback. What can we do to get him off balance early, dial up a little bit of pressure? And because you have a defensive secondary that has been so sound and is full of fantastic athletes, you can rely on those guys, lean on those guys, bring the linebackers into the fold. Let's get some unique pressures dialed up and get Charpia throwing off balance and off platform early.
Home against GV 2022.
Okay.
Anchor Bone Classic
There
was
you
the
go.
last one. So it's a typo. But Kobe, I completely agree with you. Let's throw the kitchen sink, knowing that they're coming up to your place. You're the best team in the country in your mind, right? Like, they got to come and beat you, right? Like, the mentality doesn't need to be like, oh, we got to play Newberry. It's Newberry's got to play us.
Mm-hmm.
So, like, if you have that mentality, and rightfully so, I'm pretty sure they always have that mentality no matter who they play, then you can do whatever you want. The problem is them making sure that don't give up explosive plays. Make them beat you. You know what I mean? Like, don't beat Ferris. Make them beat.
Sure.
Yeah, I think both of you guys hit the nails on the head. I think force turnovers and, don't get caught in the moment. I think establish the run game early, really take it to them. It's just demoralizing for a team, like Newberry, who's had a great season, but can they keep up with the talent up front like Ferris State? So establish the run early and then put them really in the mixer. Start getting that play action going and really take advantage. And, I think, for Ferris State, forcing turnovers is really important. You just hit it on the head, Kobe. Get the blitz going, attack, throw the kitchen sink at them. I love that quote right there. But, I think it can be dangerous though, right? Because if you get a little bit too aggressive,
sure,
and Newberry has a couple of big plays, it could some 50-50 balls go the right way. This could be an interesting game, and you don't want to get too caught up in that either. So I think just controlling the game, controlling the clock, controlling the ground game as well. I think it's going to be huge.
Yeah, they might. Newberry might have that last little 4-minute segment on loop in the locker room, and then the TV's down there. But that's all right. A lot of rat poison for this Ferris State team as well. But I think obviously seeing this team play, that's the confidence level we have in them. We're not necessarily doing game picks, but I think which way we're leaning here. And again, Newberry has surprised us a couple times the last couple of weeks. This is going to be a competitive football game. By no means are we expecting this one to be a blowout, fellas. And I'll be honest with you, this next game we're talking about, I thought might get ugly. The Harding, the Bisons, they play host to UTPB, Permian Basin, the Falcons come into town. And this one ends up being, like I have here, the potential game of the year candidate, because this Harding team, as dominant as they looked in the first quarter, where Braden Jay breaks off, I think it was a 55-yard touchdown to set the tone. And I'm sitting on my couch thinking, here come those Bisons. This team is absolutely rolling. UTPB does not know what's about to hit them. As much as a fan as I am of that program, they bounce back. X-Line and company, that defense stands up. Watching him and Miller just go boom in the A-gap repeatedly. A lot of CTE probably coming from those hits, but a lot of enjoyment for myself and other football fans watching these two teams go at it. This one ends up being 34-28. Bisons, they squeak it out, so to speak, a 9-minute drive. I think technically like 8 minutes, 50 seconds, but basically a 9-minute drive for Harding to seal the deal. That brings me back a very different kind of ball game. But Drew, if you remember this one, they played Grand Valley a couple years ago in the playoffs. That was like a 7-6 ball game where Harding drove down the entire length of the field, just play after play after play, and ended up punching it in to beat the Lakers and advance. this felt like that drive, like the death march down the field of the Bison. So a very Harding way to win this, but UTBB, a phenomenal, I cannot say that enough, showing from this squad. Very, very impressed, of course, with Gibson and the offense, but X-line and that defense. That's really where the praise goes from me.
Yeah, 100%, man. And, hats off to this UTPB team all year. This is a team that we didn't talk about too much in the off season, and they showed up and they came and they played they had a tough schedule and they came to play every week. And, this is a great way to end the season. I know it's not the way they wanted to, but it was a great showing for this team. They fought to the very end. But it just shows how dominant this Harding team is on the ground, running the ball, 389 yards on the ground, breaking a couple of records too while they're at it. That last drive just shows you what kind of team they are, just bleeding that clock. And that just has to be so frustrating to watch that from the opposite sideline, especially in that scenario with a trip to the semifinals on the line. It's tough. That's a tough way to go out. But like you said, hats off to UTPB.
And I don't know if you guys saw, but Magnus Lepak, the kicker for Harding, he pulled the Pat McAfee, the self-onside kick and recovery in the first quarter, I believe. It
right
was
after the touchdown.
Flawless.
Mm-hmm.
We did that against SAG last year.
There you go. I mean, this one was executed to perfection. I didn't see the Northwood one, but I saw the Harding one. That boy Magnus, he pulled that off. Loved it. Absolutely loved that confident play at home from him. And, of course, you can't talk about this team without talking about the contributions from the man under center, Cole Keelan, friend of the program that we've had on here. He had one of his best days, dare I say, as part of this Bison's team. And that says a lot because he's had some really good performances, and it wasn't because he was 1 for 3 through the air, fellas. That was not why. They did throw the ball 3 times, but they did it on the ground. 17 carries, 148 yards, and a touchdown. He broke that touchdown run off as a 50-yarder for Cole Keelan. This group, really fun to watch. Him, Braden Jay, Andrew Miller, those guys are a very, very dangerous 3-headed dragon for Harding.
Yeah, as great as Harding is offensively, I mean, 389 yards total rushing yards is kind of just crazy. Defensively is where I'm going to focus on right now. When you hold your opposing team to 52 net yards rushing, you're winning a football game 9 times out of 10. And then also we had talked about the week before how Cannon Gibson was just playing remarkable football. You forced 2 turnovers there too. Just like what we talked about with Ferris. You're going up against Ferris. You're going up against Harding. You're going up against even like Kutztown. Limiting turnovers when you play these teams. That's a huge factor, right? Like Harding isn't going to beat Harding. That's the one thing that they're not going to turn the ball over. So like you have to limit those turnovers and you have to find a way to have explosive plays. They threw for 312 yards, but when you only run for 52, it's going to be tough because then it feels like the whole time you're in like a pass-a-thon where it's just like drop back. Like controlling the game isn't necessarily like what I would say they were doing.
Curtis Jackson and Josh Gatlin, the 2 big takeaways through the air for this Bison's defense. And, you talk about that performance. Corey Harris, for as talented as a back as that is for UTPB, who we've seen in and out of the lineup recently, but only 4 touches for him on the ground on the day. They resorted a lot through the air. The volume has gone up for Cannon Gibson, what he's been able to do this playoff run. But you left Corey Harris 4 touches to only 12 yards, and Gibson definitely struggled on the day when it came to rushing. He did have 2 touchdowns with his legs, some more short yardage type situations. But again, Harding team that has really impressed in a lot of different ways. And Tim, you kind of mentioned it. This is a team that broke multiple records, man, on Saturday. There was 6,308 rushing yards and 80 rushing touchdowns, both new all-level NCAA records, gentlemen, across all Division 1, 2, and 3 in the NCAA. And I know for a fact that 6,308 rushing yards for single season, that is a record that was broken. The previous record holder, the 2023 Harding team that went on and won the national championship. Man, this is phenomenal numbers. And to give you some perspective, because I was trying to look at a team like Northern Michigan, who, of course, has been running the option of late, my Northern Michigan Wildcats. We did a fantastic job of running the football this year. Like, I don't think anyone would argue that. Northern has done a phenomenal job. Noah Dobert is an All-American. He was a Harlan Hill nominee, and we had an offensive line unit that was very good. All that to say, we ran for half that many yards running the option. Harding is not only just running the option, they are doing it at a clip that has never been seen before in all of college football. It's safe to say.
Yeah, they're dominant. Like, it's just at the point where, like, you expect them to run for 300 yards. Like most of the time, Tim and I talked about this a week ago. When you run the option in the way that they do, it's usually teams like Navy, Army, Northern Michigan, no slouch at Northern, but like teams that are trying to like be different, not necessarily teams that are going, I don't know, 14-0 every year.
Yeah.
They're trying to like spice things up to see if they can confuse you. And, like, it's not modernized is what I'm trying to say. Harding has not only modernized it, but they've taken it to a new level to where it's just like, this is Harding football, like it or not. And if you don't like it, just get out of the way.
Yeah, man. It's been very fun to watch.
6,000 yards. I mean, some teams aren't even totaling that passing and rushing for the whole season. And they're doing it all on the ground. It's ridiculous. That's insanity. I can't even do that in a video game, And it's just a hard way to guard football. I think, like Drew, like you said, we did talk about it last week, and it's from a defensive perspective, it's so hard to focus. Like prepping for that game is so hard, whether it's any option team, Air Force, Army, Navy, whatever. It's just a tough offense to guard in general because you gotta really be disciplined with your gap play. And when they have all these different athletes on the field, even their quarterback is running people over, it is tough to guard it and it's tough to play. So Kutztown's going to have to come with a really good defensive strategy to win this game.
Let's talk about that Kutztown team as we go ahead.
Shout out to the big boys too. You don't run for 6,000 yards.
Led by Kobe Williams, the center for that squad we had on the program very recently. Shout out.
Yeah, you got to have some absolute units to run for 6,000 yards.
Also, shout out, I don't know his name, number 51 on Harding. He had a touch. He had a block for a touchdown. He blocked two guys on one play on one of the highlights. I did see.
Dude, that is awesome.
He blocked two guys. He led him it was a reverse touchdown. I saw that. So shout out number 51.
That is sick. I definitely have to go back and watch that. But let's talk about this Kutztown team. Their first ever matchup versus Frostburg State, another squad in Frostburg that has opened a lot of eyes. The Golden Bears back in the semis for a second time in the last 3 seasons. This time they're hosting. When was the last time a Super Region 1 team did that? Well, Judd Novak and I talked about that a bit in the conversation, fellas. And I do want to show you, Judd might be making a case, of course, for the Harlan Hill, but how about the Heisman as well? First quarter here, Novak pulls it in the backfield, waltzes in. You can see the thinking, and bang.
Oh, that's hard.
Bang.
Oh, that's hard.
In the back of the end zone. This
That's
thing
tough.
gets going early and often. That, of course, being this Golden Bear offense with Judd Novak fooled everyone. Talk about a dual threat quarterback. This guy is about as much of a definition textbook as you can get in all Division II football. A couple good clips here from Jordan Gillis. Shout out him on Twitter here. A couple big plays from this one. You see Frostburg does get on the board. Physicality was showing early. They responded to that Novak score, but Kutztown ended up separating in the second half and pull away for the victory in this one, fellas. 51-29 over Frostburg State, and they will advance to the semifinals and host, which we'll talk about, of course, in a minute.
Yeah, man, Kutztown, they're really good on all fronts, defensively and offensively. I think they do match up pretty well with this Harding team. I really think they are, like I said, good on all 3 fronts. Judd Novak is their playmaker. Harding's got to find a way to contain him, and that was probably one of the coolest videos I've seen all season. Was that Heisman?
Here we go.
That is so tough, and I feel like that's like all of our dreams is to have that moment right there. But that's cool, and I do think this team matches up well with Harding, and they took it to them.
They definitely did. Kutztown never trailed in this one. Here's a pic from our good friend Chuck Bittner at d2football.com. That's the team photo celebrating the victory there for this Kutztown team that has represented the PSAC very well on the national stage. And they've done it the last couple of years, man. This is a powerhouse down there in Pennsylvania, no matter who's been a part of it. This team, just the latest iteration, and dare I say, potentially the most talented that we've seen in a while from this Golden Bears side.
Yeah, and shout out Freddie Redder, 2.5 sacks.
Oh, yeah.
Big there. Lauren Short, 2 sacks there. getting after the quarterback, that obviously helps. But yeah, talk about Novak a little bit. We talk about efficiency. 11 of let me make sure. 11 of 16. He's practically shooting 75% there. 3 touchdowns through the air, 1 on the ground, obviously with the Heisman pose. Very efficient football is going to win games every single time. So he's going to need to be efficient again when he's going up against the Bison. This is going to be a clash of the Titans, in my opinion. I think this is two really good teams going at it.
Semifinal football.
Yeah, and personally, it's just, I know we're about to get into why the seeding is the seeding, but Ferris is going to be waiting on the other side. That was a little spoiler right there. So this should be very interesting to see who wins this game.
And you talk about Redder. He has had multiple sacks in each of KU's 3 playoff wins to this point. Talk about turning it on at the right time.
It's like prime Hutch when we were going on that little run.
It is. The big drama, of course, recently has been coming out, of course, pertains to the seeding. How is Kutztown hosting this weekend? That is the question that a lot of people have asked, and I thought they did a very good job of explaining it on Inside D2 Football, the D2Football.com show on YouTube and X. Catch those guys whenever. But it all comes down to KPI. And we're trying to explain at least a little bit of the usage of KPI to the dismay of the Harding fans. It all comes down to the computer. It's an algorithm, and that's how this thing gets broken down. And I got a graphic here that shows the KPI kind of rankings, fellas, and how that pans out. This, of course, is the metric, if you can't tell, that is used to determine who would be hosting in these different situations. John Dykstra, kudos to him for giving us this deal right here. Here you have the KPI ratings of these teams, fellas. Those top 4, of course, the ones we're looking at. Ferris State, Kutztown, Harding, and, Newberry as you get down into that number 5 spot after Albany State. That is the criteria used to host. And you'll see from 0.454 to 0.448, there is a drop-off to 0.425 that, from my understanding, is pretty substantial when it comes to this index and this algorithm. That's a pretty substantial drop from the first 2 downward. And so is it to say that Harding is not a deserving football team? Absolutely not. Censor myself here, but it is to say that Kutztown has done it in the eyes of this algorithm. They have earned the right to host this football game. This KPI index takes all of your losses and your wins. For both these teams, it is actually, there's no losses because they're 2 of the only undefeated teams left in D2 football, but it takes all your wins and it rates them on a, you get like a certain point percentage for that win. It factors in your strength of schedule and some other deals about opponents that you've played over the course of the season. And, at the end of the day, it spits out a number. Kutztown's number that it spat out is higher than Harding's number. That is the very short version of why Kutztown is hosting this weekend. And if you remember, guys, just a couple years ago, this is a Kutztown team and an athletic administration that didn't even put in the required paperwork to host, and they had to travel to Slippery Rock. If you remember talking about that, Drew, I think.
Yeah, I do remember talking about that.
Nuts. And I know the part of the conversation has revolved around, like here, Randy makes a good point. He says, not sure how Kutztown was given the higher seed over Harding when Kutztown only played 1 ranked team all season, and that team was ranked number 24. Harding, on the other hand, played 3 highly ranked teams the last 3 weeks. By the way, I'm unbiased since my son plays for Pitt State. Shout out to you, Randy. Love people that are passionate about D2 football, but, that is a big part of the conversation and the question, and some people had brought up the case of, well, Harding should schedule more out of conference. The GAC doesn't really allow for a lot of that, and then I saw another really good point on Twitter. Who the hell is scheduling Harding out of conference?
Well, I'm pretty sure Randy's wrong because unless the Wonder Boys were ranked their last week, they didn't play.
3 weeks of playoffs.
Oh, okay. Just making sure. Never mind. But no, I mean,
get out of here.
No, shout out. I do think this is a big glorified word for strength of record. But it does sound like Harding has a better strength of record. So it's weird in that sense. I don't know. I mean, I feel like
this is Harding's first single-digit win, I believe, in the year. I have to go back and double-check it, but I think so.
Kobe, we talked about it last week. Why did, in the Final Four, let's do neutral sites. Like, let's make this fun. Let's make this interesting.
That would be sweet.
Find a school where it's equally distant apart. Yeah, no, I know. But we got shit like NIL these days. We can pay for
Okay,
that.
okay. Okay, here's a good question. If we're talking Harding, we're talking Andrew Miller, Cole Keelan, that gritty, tough Harding Bisons group. What's the ideal company? We're going off script then. What's the ideal company that comes in and coughs up some cash for these guys for an NIL deal? What do you think fits the Bisons over there?
Buffalo Wild Wings?
Yeah,
okay, that's solid. I was going like Ram truck.
That would be another one.
But
yeah.
B-dubs? How about B-dubs? Big order of B-dubs with that new mascot guy they got in the bed of said Ram.
That's what I was thinking of the mascot guy. I thought, yeah, who's in the commercial with him? But he's just like chilling there eating wings.
Kelsey.
It is Kelsey.
God, he's got to get off TV. On another note, speaking of his brother, that was fantastic to watch them collapse yesterday.
Oh, the Chiefs dynasty, you've been praying on it?
Yeah. That was nice.
But no, speaking of the Bison, if you were
Bisons,
to then go
plural, makes not a whole lot of sense, but Bisons.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Well, geez, you learn something every day. Okay, like I think this is going to be whose superpower can necessarily overtake the other one, if that makes sense, right? Like,
okay,
this is like fire and water going at it. Like, it's just like
who's who? Because there's a very obvious winner in that equation.
I don't know. I mean, this is interesting. This is a very good game.
I'm very excited. I'm very excited for it. Talk about that defensive line group for Kutztown, what they've been able to accomplish the last couple of weeks, man. I'm pumped for all these matchups, and we got some really good ones on deck, fellas. The Final Four in Division II football, just a few more weeks of D2 football, talking about some fantastic action and some great matchups. Here is your look at the Final Four teams in the country. 3 of them being the only undefeated teams left in D2 football: Ferris, Harding, Kutztown, and then the dark horse, the Wolves in Newberry, who round out that top 4, gentlemen.
Oh, this is tough.
Big time. We shall see, but a lot of big-time games. Well, only 2 of them.
Hang on. I'm going to check the Massey ratings, see what they got for...
Okay, for lines? Yeah, I didn't put the spreads in here or anything.
Yeah, let me get there.
Yeah, let me know what that says. I'm going to go ahead and I would assume Harding and Ferris are favored. I would give Ferris probably 12.5. I don't think that's ridiculous to say at home this time of the year.
I'd say 14.
I think that's fair.
I think, again, would you favor Harding on the road? That becomes a bigger question. I think Harding still might get like 3.5, 4, 5 points in that range.
Yeah.
You think Harding's projected by 3?
Who knows? I'm also just trying to stall while you pull it up and give my best guess.
Yeah.
Hopefully nobody punts from the 29-yard line.
All right. Wow. Ferris, according to the Massey ratings, Ferris 48, Newberry 14.
Whoa.
That's a big yeah.
Whoa.
Yeah.
That's
I'll take
wild.
the dogs to win. I'm taking Newberry to cover that personally.
Okay. Fair. What about the other matchup there?
Harding 31, Kutztown 7.
Dude.
My bad. I'm sorry. 24 by 7. I should have said. My bad.
Okay, wait. Repeat the score. 31-24.
31 Harding 31, Kutztown 24.
I can see that. That's like a legit. That makes a lot more sense. Massey is big on the dogs. Coaching East and the dogs over there. Holy cow.
You know what? I got it. I'm going Kutztown outright. It's going to be Kutztown and Ferris in the national championship. That's my bold prediction. Shout out to the Wonder Boys that picks for you guys. No, I'm kidding.
I love it, dude. I'm excited. Thank you, fellas. I appreciate you.